These technical issues going on. Folks, happy to join you today on this wonderful Friday. As you know, I'm Tim the Fizbo guy, and I've got a guy on today that I met. And after I was actually on his live stream, and after spending, gosh, I want to say 20 minutes, I was like, this guy's he's so good, and he had so many amazing insights as to how AI is going to be used and really applied in everyday life, starting now into the future. And it was just so cool to actually talk to a guy who got it because, so many of the times I hear people saying, oh, God, it's going to, AI is going to take our jobs and AI is going to do this, that. And what people don't realize is AI is not going to take anything. It's going to take what we do and augment it. And I think that's one of the things I loved about Ryan's message. So without further ado, Ryan Van Ornum from Synergists, he built an amazing product and just he's got so much insight on this stuff. And that's why I'm thrilled to have him. Ryan, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Tim. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, dude, of course. We after the last time that you and I talked, I was like, oh God, I got to get you here because I know my audience clamors for this kind of stuff. There's so much really like cloudy logic around how AI works, what it does, what it can do, what it can't do. And of course, there's lots of things it does well, but there's a lot of things it does poorly, and you should never ask it to. And I think that's kind of the trap a lot of people fall into is they set this thing up without any context and and say, hey, design me a car that can break the speed of sound. It's like crazy some of the expectations people put on that. So I would love to just kind of turn it over to you. I'd love for you to tell people, hey, your philosophy on how does AI fit into leadership and building a resilient corporate culture, having the backup of AI, sitting there as your bench, right? Because it's never. I don't really think it's quite there yet to be the quarterback, but I definitely think it'd be a great offensive coordinator if I was to draw an analogy there.
Yeah, I definitely think having it as an augment to helping with brain power, helping with productivity across the way for your company. It's hugely successful in those regards when you keep it on the guardrails. Like that's the biggest thing. You can't let this thing. Any of the platforms still deal with hallucination, no matter how many times that they tell you they don't.
Yeah.
So it's keeping it within the guardrails is really big.
So when you say guardrails, like what's the best way to make sure that people are doing that the right way?
I think, well, I know what we do is we keep it within, ifs and thans and stuff like that. That we make sure that all of our, it's not just like writing this conversational or just talking to it conversationally. That you have to create the right prompting behind the scenes to make sure that you get the specified output that you want,
Uh-huh.
and that you keep it that it uh, doesn't keep repeating the same thing because it'll start kind of going wayward.
Oh, it beats a dead horse better than anything I've ever seen.
Yes, 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 exactly. And that's why you have, for us, that's why we have a development team,
Mhm.
that develops all of this stuff in such a high level. Also, the other thing too is like what we've seen is like hard coding versus, like making sure that a lot of companies try to use certain middle type of companies to like Make or Zapier and stuff like that, that we use actual API keys and stuff like that, that there's this, it doesn't miss, it doesn't break as much, it's hard coded much easier. Like those things are build it for the long term, as opposed to just like banding wire and band-aids.
Sure. Yeah. And I know a lot of the people in my audience, they tend to be, old like me. And so where the old folks like me tend to have a bit of a mistrust around new technology and things like that. And, I have to say this is where I parted ways a little bit with people of my generation in that I've really taken to it. I mean, I I use, I use AI in so many different facets of my life, and I use different AIs for different things. I love Claude for prose when I'm writing something that's customer facing. I think Claude is one of the best, most talented human-esque writers out there.
Yeah.
I love using ChatGPT for grunt work when I'm just trying to figure out nuts and bolts of stuff, and I'll use Grok when I'm trying to figure out who said what, because it's got like direct taps into X. So I mean, there's definitely different AIs that I've found myself using, but for people who are my age, where do you see AI actually making a marketable difference in the everyday lives of what they're doing? Because I think that's the missing piece. I think once people look, my mom wouldn't send a text message to save her freaking life, okay? Until we had kids. When she had grandkids, guess what she learned how to do? Send and receive pictures of her grandbabies, right? There has to be a why. And I'm curious, what is some of the whys out there? Have you have any use cases that you found that kind of appeals maybe to the older generations out there?
I think right now, because I'm in my mid to late 40s, and I feel like there's our generation, the end of Gen X, the beginning of the millennials. We have to kind of like understand that we have the resources and capital to make this transition happen. Otherwise, you're going to be stepped on. That like if I want to leave a legacy for my kids, it's
Yeah,
just my why is that I have to be able to, you know, adjust and overcome. Like that's the way that I look at it. Like most, as much as I want to feel like we're all going to be in a good place, we're going to be in a good place when it was like the same thing when the internet happened. Like 25 years ago, 30 years ago. Uh, Everyone is using the internet now. Now, there's kind of a bell curve to this that you have like the tip of the spear, the innovators, those are the people that are doing this every single day and learning what it takes to be that and go to the next level. Then you have the early adapters, and then you have the first wave of the majority, and then the laggers come behind after that.
right.
So where we need to speak to is to the majority. Like as an innovator, we can't speak as an innovator to the majority. We just seem like the crazy ones that are like, oh, we're gonna dance with the robots for the rest of our lives. Like that that doesn't that doesn't appeal to everybody. So it's also for the majority of people, it's not Terminator 2 Skynet.
Yeah,
That's the other thing. It's like it's not all fear, doom and gloom. Now there are some issues with safety and concerns, absolutely, and I think that is warranted. Now that is the 0.0001% of
yeah,
everything where it could be malicious. Now we can't let fear dictate our livelihood, and that's been something since the dawn of man and time.
right.
Is like we let fear in our mind overcome where we can move things forward. So I'm sure my grandparents coming from the Depression era, like when they were learning about how like the assembly line had changed their lives, with cars being on mass production versus, they just came, their parents just came out of, horse and carriage. That's a huge difference. And now we're just learning in a different way as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, knowing all that, like, what are you super excited about right now? Like, what are the things that you're working on that you're just like feel like this is going to make just a mountain of difference in people's everyday lives?
I think because our business is towards small to medium sized business owners and cater more to small business more than anything else. It's like the solopreneurs to like the like 20 staff members type of businesses.
Yep.
And what we've seen is those people have gotten their head kicked in for the last 30 to 50 years with just exponentially, the bigger companies just buying them up and growing them out and like taking them over.
Right.
What we see is with AI and technology right now, we can give people a better platform to compete with them at. So whether it's utilize so many of the small businesses have no time to utilize for social media to get their name out there even more, to understand how to generate leads, at a high pace besides just referrals. There's many different options that we can help them with. Finding, I came from the real estate side of stuff for the last 10 years. And while I was doing that, building out AI as I went along. And one of the things that we found is that we can build out and find, assessor records and title records and different things like this to be able to help, like investors find new properties in new ways with different indicators. There's all types of ways that we can help people. And it just depends on, if your mind has a concept, we can fulfill it for it. That's the way that we kind of look at this whole structure now.
That's amazing. And we were talking beforehand. You were telling me about a new idea you're working on. Are you ready to talk about that publicly right now, or is that still kind of under wraps?
We can kind of talk a little bit about it, but it's more of like the understanding of how to find new properties along the way, utilizing many.
I think investors, the people who are investors out there, need to listen to this because this is just insane to me what you're working on.
Yeah, we're able to pull data from assessors and title records and then put indicators on it with AI to basically lead score every single property across the United States. So if they're missing, say that something's been hung up in an LLC or a trust for like, I don't know, I'm just gonna create a scenario.
Yeah.
Say a 25 unit property that was hung up in a trust 25 years ago that now that the people in the trust are all gone. How are you able to, assess who's in that, find it, lead score it, be able to bring it to top of light? Here's an opportunity for an investor that they can have a 5x return on their money, say $20,000 investment. They can turn that into that maybe the property itself is worth, I don't know, $2 million or something. And they just have to bring 20,000 to the table with everything, considering they could turn that into a $4 million, turnaround. They could definitely make some money on it.
That's so cool.
So that's the stuff that we're helping investors with right now.
That's amazing because, I was into in fact, I JV'd into an apartment building years ago. And I just remember how much effort it took to just find one that would actually pencil out. I mean, months and months and months, 6 months on average, I would say, where you'd start with a pile of 1,000 possibles. And after 6 months, maybe you had 2 or 3 that actually made it to the bottom, only to be told after 6 months of working for free that, yeah, not interested, or yeah, now there's a special case, or yeah, sure, but we want, they're asking for some ridiculous amount for it. And I just love that from the sound of it, what you're doing is you're saying, listen, never mind about that initial 6-month effort. Let us handle that. Let my robots handle that for you in nanoseconds. And now I'm going to let you do the part that a human is needed for, which is, does this actually pencil out? And I imagine your app even helps you figure that out too, doesn't it?
Well, we have the ability to add on to it as well, of like, we can actually have the initial text messages sent out, the initial emails sent out, all of that is AI generated. And then once they have explicit consent, then we can come back and use AI to do follow-up calls as well.
Wow. Absolutely amazing.
Because once we build out the knowledge base of what the voice needs to talk through, it will actually run the conversation for you. So all the follow-up calls, now your scoring goes up and up and up, because now you're not wasting your time on that 3 months of, actually having those conversations, like to build, we can help you build rapport with an AI agent, making voice calls as well.
Wow. Does this work for all sorts of properties, or is it only commercial right now at the moment,
We
or
can
commercial
do,
residential,
we can find residential ones too.
like vacant land too, and all that kind of stuff?
Vacant land, yes, we
Wow,
can find it all. It just depends in the ways that you want to find it. But yes, we can scrape data to make it work.
that's amazing. I think that's like one of the one of the prime examples of kind of where you were going before, which is that like AI is not really in a position where it can totally replace you yet, but it does take what you're
Correct.
doing and make it an order of magnitude, several orders of magnitude easier. Like if I, man, 6 years ago, if I had a tool like this, I would probably own several dozen apartment buildings by now instead of doing one, barely getting out by the skin of my teeth, breaking even and deciding it wasn't right for me. Because it's just, again, unless you have a full-time dedicated employee, it was what it used to take to go through and really do the diligence on all of these possibles, you really come out of the other end of that funnel with not much but a bunch of wasted time. It's really cool to figure out that you guys have actually found a solution for this. I look forward to learning more about that myself.
Absolutely. And what we're trying to do is bring it that it's affordable for the the masses, really, of masses of investors that are really truly investors and not just the ones that play investor, if I can be so blunt
Sure.
about it.
How do you make that distinction?
I think that's a weeding out process, to begin with, because like, there is a cost associated with this. We're not trying to, you know, make a million dollars off of one person or anything like that, but there is a monthly cost associated with this thing to make sure that it runs effectively for people. But it's right around $2,000 a month.
Okay, and so that, and it sounds like to me, like if you're not really in a position where, let's say you live in Colorado and you only want to invest in, your local area, this might be overkill for you because this sounds like it's set up for people who have the means and the ability to invest across the country no matter what.
Yeah, this is for the real investors. Like the people that do onesie twosies, this is not for them. This because the amount of data that we have to scrape to find the right properties is not feasible for like the onesie twosie type of investor.
Got it. Got it.
So
So if they are in a given state and they only want to stay in that given state, you're saying the amount of data you have to scrape to come up with enough possible matches, it just doesn't make sense. You really need to be looking nationwide.
yeah, or the other thing too is like we have all the bells and whistles behind it too. So if you just want the certain tool, that could be a certain amount. But like if you want all the email, all the texting, all the voice calls, all of it combined, that's a different story too.
Do-
So
And
there's
do,
levels to it.
is the automations already built out? Like, have you already pre-written the emails and text, or does somebody have to come in and do that themselves?
We would help them write it. Like our
Got it.
our AI agent actually helps them write it. Like
Yeah.
you actually talk to a live avatar when you're talking, so then it'll actually help build your knowledge base with you.
Wow. So the onboarding is actually with an AI avatar.
Correct.
That is really, really cool. Uh, have you gotten any reports back on how that onboarding goes yet? Has this been at all beta tested? Has it, I'm
We're
curious how people feel about interacting with the AI avatar.
Yeah, we're in beta testing for the last couple of weeks on it right now, and
Okay.
but we're really close to launch on all of these products. So like, well, on that particular product, but
That is so cool.
the AI avatar, yes. What we did instead of we can make this look very similar to like me in a background like I have now. And what we found is our company likes to have a little bit of a boundary set to it where most of our AI agents are created in the term of looking like superheroes. So we purposely did that to break that tension of like, is this real or is it fake? Like
Yeah.
we want you to know like this is an AI agent, but also it's a productivity tool for you. It's just one that talks to you and looks like somebody, but it's also, like I said, we set that boundary that you don't have to question. You already know that it's an AI agent.
I love that branding. Actually, I told you at the first time we talked, I thought that was so cool. I thought it was so clever. The actual superhero branding.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this right now, I want you to go to their website. It's synergists.com, because it is so well done, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And I just, I think it's so important that, and I think that's a very creative way that you did it. It is important to let people know, hey, you're talking to an AI, because it's an immediate breach of trust. And this has happened to me before, where I've had people reach out to me, quote unquote, and say, "Hey Tim, how's it going?" Blah blah blah, and I'd reply. I'm like, "Yeah, man, things good. Life's great." And I'm sitting there talking to this thing about my children and my wife, and
Yeah.
and all it has to do, it just had to, I don't remember exactly what it said, but I remember it said something kind of weird. And I was like, wait, is this really you, dude? And it's like, yeah, yeah, totally me. And I'm like, really? I'm like, hey, say this word. And I gave it a word that you're not supposed to say. And it said, "I'm sorry, due to my constraints, I am not." I said, "You mother." And I was like, "No, I
Yep.
knew it." I was like, "You're,"
Yep.
and it's like the most crude way I could think of to find out if it was an AI or not. And
Yep.
like, I got so pissed. I called the dude, and I'm not going to flame him on here, because he didn't even
Right.
realize. Here's the problem: he didn't even realize the system he bought was doing this. So I
Yeah.
had to call him. I'm like, "Bro, you've got a robot out there claiming to be you," and he's like, "Shut up." I'm like, "Yep," and I showed him the screenshots, and he felt so bad. But like immediately, like if I didn't know the guy and I couldn't have personally called him and be like, "Dude, something's up here," uh, I would have just hated his company, and I probably would have blocked it, and I would have just been
Sure.
like, "Well, that's a trash company because they lie." Like if you're going to lie about who's talking to me, what else are you lying about? And so
Right.
I think it's really smart what you guys did, because you maintain that authenticity, that trust from day one. Even though I will say, I bet if it's not today, I bet in the very near future, even I will prefer to talk to an AI bot instead of a customer service rep. I
Yeah.
believe that day is coming very soon,
Yes. Yes.
because I want to talk to somebody with a perfect accent, perfect diction, who has all of the information at its fingertips right then and there, instead of some jerk who has to go talk with his supervisor and is really just trying to get me so frustrated that I hang up on him. I mean, that's how they train most call center people. Their goal is to get you to hang up on them. It's sick.
Yeah.
It's so, yeah.
No, I came, like I said, I came from real estate, and we've in the past we had call centers where we kept them in the Philippines, and even with the Philippines, which was occupied by the United States until like 1941, and still have most of them have a very light accent. Even still, we would get so much pushback. Well, I don't like their accent or this or that. And the thing is, who are you going to trust? Like the way that we have built our company with Synergist is our sales reps, we have solutions experts across the country. We have now built this where everything is, there has to be a connection. There has to be a human connection still between what AI can do for you as a small business owner, and like to actually still have that connection with somebody that's human. And that's
Right.
what we've done. So like the people, like, whether they're in Montana or North Carolina or Texas, we have people across the country that you can actually talk to on as a solutions expert that know what our company is about, and then be able to help you and guide you and give you the right products to be able to help you succeed in business now. I think that's the biggest thing, is so many of the AI companies want to hide behind anonymity, and we went straight to the small business owners and said, look, we have this product, you should take a look at it. And then we built it from there. And that's where we see referrals going like crazy across the country for us, because now they have a personal touch with our solutions experts talking to them ground level, boots on the ground, but it's still AI.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, in your day to day, I mean, as somebody who actually runs and administers an AI centric company, what I'm curious, what are some of your favorite tools that you use? Do you use anything on a daily basis? Do you have anything that you just absolutely love? And it doesn't have to be one of your products; it could be anybody's. I'm curious to hear what you find extra useful.
Yeah, well, like I mean, just you know, a lot of what we have learned about building an AI is like one, owning your own property. So many of like if you can go out there and vibe code it all you want and like, but you're never gonna own your own stuff.
Yeah.
So like understanding how to build this, that you have your own intellectual property is huge to begin with. Then two, it's like understanding you can pay for certain aspects of stuff. Like HeyGen is amazing. It can do many different things. 11 Labs is amazing. Now you won't own any of your product.
Right.
So that's the difference, is like finding open source technology that can help you grow. Like one of the things that we found was Lemon Slice does just what HeyGen does, and we partner with Lemon Slice to bring our AI avatars to life. Like it's a different aspect, but it still works the same. So
Why did you go that route?
because we want, like our whole goal is to be able to build, and within 5 to 8 years that we sell to a larger company, that we own all of our IP.
Got it.
Your force multiplier basically is like cut exponentially less if you don't own your own IP.
Oh, for sure.
So we built this in a way that we own all of our own IP from day one, and not trying just to build fast with like just plug and play type of stuff.
That's super smart. Yeah, I love that. And like for like the non-technical people, our generation, our older guys, I think about folks like my parents. I can't imagine how much easier my parents' lives would be if I could like get them over the hump of understanding what, this. I remember, it's funny, my dad, we were sitting out on the porch, it's probably a year ago, and you know, I had to find the solution to something really simple. So I pulled up, I was probably ChatGPT voice interface, and I just talked to it.
Yeah.
And he was like, I just did magic. He's like, what was that? And I'm like, yeah, Dad, it's this thing. It's ChatGPT. You just put it on your phone and you can talk to it. He's like, I can never figure that out. I was like, what do you mean? You just talk to it. And
Yeah.
they think because it's sophisticated that it's necessarily complex. And that's exact opposite. The sophistication comes from it being non-complex. That's why it's so usable. And I think that's like one of the things that we have to teach people is like, yeah, this is highly capable, very talented technology, but it doesn't take a computer science degree to work.
And the thing that I've seen too is like being able to coach business owners through, it's like, how do you go from like somebody that runs like say a plumbing company? How do you go from a plumbing company that only has you answering the phones, and if you have to pick up the phone, you are now losing money while you're cleaning out drains,
Yep.
or building, or maybe like you are replacing a main sewer line. That's a large, expensive job that can be anywhere from like $15,000 to $30,000. If you have to stop and answer your phone, you're turning off your rig to be, digging out the hole. I mean, that huge cost associated with all of that stuff. So like having the ability to have a company that will answer the phone for you, schedule your calendar for you, and know how long jobs usually take. That's like we have so many mobile mechanics or landscapers that we do that for them, that we will go and utilize Google Maps to be able to create their days and structure their days, that they're not burning more fuel driving all the way across town and back because they
Wow.
just picked it up,
That's
picked up
so
a
cool.
job. So instead of like Tuesdays, like say in the northwest corner of Denver, Colorado, and then you're all the way down in Parker in the west or the southeast side of Denver as a landscaping company, like that, you need to be able to structure your weeks better with your whole crew. We can do that now.
Wow. That's incredible. Those are things I wouldn't have even thought of, but when you say it out loud, it makes so much sense.
So like in the real estate side of things, okay? So many times I would plan out just on Google Maps myself. Well, now I can just put in the information and by I what we should have this ready by Q3 of 2026, that you'll have a mobile app and you will be talking directly to the live avatar as your personal assistant of set up my route for these showings for me, and then it will actually put it on your calendar and then load your driving maps for you, your navigator for you.
That's so cool. That's so amazing. And like what it hits on is opportunity costs. Like and this is something that I found a lot when people sell homes. And, I really coach people on, hey, how do you sell your home without relying 100% on real estate agents? Because not everybody has to. And one of the things I talk about, it's not just about saving on commissions. It's actually about opportunity cost. If you being a subject matter expert of your home tells me that you should be able to sell your home better than some guy who walks through your home with a clipboard for 30 minutes. And so therefore it should take you less time to sell and allow you to take that equity and apply it to the next thing, whatever it is. And so when you delay on that, not only are you increasing your carrying costs, but you're also, people don't think about counting their opportunity costs. And opportunity costs is, well, if I was unable to invest in this next home in, Phoenix for the last 7 months and the average appreciation rate was 6% per year, I've lost X times the principal in opportunity costs. And you have to tally that in on the bottom line. And it's kind of like what you're talking about with the guy having to shut down his rig, answer a phone call that might not have any revenue attached to it. That is an opportunity cost. And if they don't start saying, it's kind of, it's like that book, Buy Back Your Time. You have to calculate, what is it that I'm doing right now, divide it by how many hours there were on the job, and that's your hourly rate. And if you're getting paid 30 grand for a 40-hour job and you took 10 minutes to answer a phone call, you just screwed your business out of maybe $1,500. And like, that's the kind of stuff, those are the discussions that smart entrepreneurs are having. And I think a lot of people are missing that.
One just popped in my head right now that we were talking, and that, like, you want to just mastermind something real quick?
Yeah.
All right. So like, here's what I'm thinking, like a for sale by owner, a for sale by owner executive assistant that walks you through the paperwork and the scheduling and understanding how to get your home ready to be a for sale by owner.
It's amazing.
So we could build it out that you could basically, all right, it would give you a list of who is real estate photographers in your area. It would then coordinate with them via email or via phone call if it needed to. And then it could basically coordinate if you needed somebody to come in and stage the property for you. Like, it could talk to stagers. We could connect with stagers in
That's
your
amazing.
area. And then we could build it out that it would be, it would post it on Zillow for you. And then it would do all your marketing and copywriting for you on that. So it would post all the videos and all the photos. We could do all of that for a monthly subscription while it's for sale.
That's wild, dude. If I'll tell you, if I wasn't straight, I'd come marry you right now. Cause that's like a freaking amazing idea. I'm telling you, that's nuts. That's got me thinking in so many different directions, because when you think about it, that's really what causes people to fail at selling their homes. It's all that stuff. And like, I had to build an entire course. Like, I've literally for the past year just been puking all the knowledge I have onto all the social medias, all on YouTube, all on Facebook, all on Instagram, to kind of grab these people by the ears and say, listen, this limiting belief that you have that selling your home is only going to be able to be done by rocket science is crap. Don't get me wrong. Yes, it's not easy, but it is simple. And the analogy I've said over and over again on that is, it's simple to run a marathon. It's putting your one foot in front of the other for 26.2 miles and not stopping to the end, but there's nothing easy about it. And that's how I look at selling a home. It's a lot of steps, but once you understand the overall blueprint, you can do it. And like, so having an AI avatar actually come in and say, all right, Jim, great job. Now we need to get your legal house in order. Here's the top 5 title companies in your area. This is who I want you to talk.
Right.
These are the questions I want you to ask. My gosh, dude, what a godsend that would be. Because I mean, Ryan, I want you to think about what you're doing for people at that point. What you're doing. So it's not the guy who has $10 million sitting in the bank who's even considering this. Okay. The people that you're going to be helping with this are the young family who's just starting out and they don't have a college fund for their kid, or it's going to be the old retired teacher couple who, or they're trying to retire. And maybe if they're able to save another 30 grand on their sale, that is such a life-changing amount of money for them. So what you're doing is you're fulfilling people's dreams. And that's what, this is where I get fired up. I get excited for this kind of stuff because now it's not just, oh, cool, I'm going to help BlackRock pick up another house, which is cool. By the way, I'm not crapping on anything else. But what I'm saying is it's this stuff here where it's like, you're really making meaningful changes in people's lives. Dude, that's the kind of stuff that gets me to be your biggest fan, man. I love that.
Well, let's talk afterwards because we can build it.
Awesome. All right, folks, you're seeing history right here. This is right here. My Grinch heart just grew 3 sizes, if you remember that movie. So that's pretty freaking awesome. I love that. God, that gets me fired up. So yeah, and you know what's cool about that too, Ryan, is I think that also this is like one of those handshake moments where it's today's technology reaching out to an older generation. And I think like that is kind of that handshake that pulls them forward and says, listen, yes, AI can be scary. Yes, of course, technology can be weird and new and different, but it also can help you do amazing things. And that's why I love the direction that you're attacking this from.
Well, and my mind is racing right now that we're having this conversation. We could build it in that there's add-ons that you could put on that we'd build your whole website for your one house.
Like a single property website.
Yeah, we would build all of that in one spot, and then it would be able to track, and then it would be able to call back the people that are interested for you and negotiate, and not negotiate, but like give examples of like what the information is, and give a callback number, everything. It would be all in one spot.
God, that's ridiculous. That is so cool, man. Yeah, I would love to chase that rabbit hole all the way down, because that's the kind of thing I love doing. Is like, I've been so blessed, and I know actually I know you have too, but I'm in a position where I'm not, a lot of my life I was spent worrying about, gosh, am I going to be able to afford the next house payment? Gosh, am I going to be able to afford this? Hey man, I can't tell you how late it was in life, and I'm embarrassed to say it, but I'm putting used tires on the truck because the idea of buying a set of new tires is just absurd. And, just, by the grace of God and by just the amount, the friends that I was lucky enough to find myself around as I was growing up and into my formative years, I was able to kind of eventually chart a course that got me out of that. And now, like, I have a great life, and it's cool because now, instead of worrying about those things, I could think about, all right, if I was still that guy, getting a divorce, 8 years ago, and every penny freaking mattered, what could I do to help that guy? If I was never got out of that hole and I lived my entire life paycheck to paycheck, what would I need in order to set my kids off right, to be better than I was? I love thinking of things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And being able to leave a legacy for others, give back to others that, when I didn't have the opportunities that I do now, like being able to just feel the overwhelming sensation to help others, like that's what I'm about, man. I'm former military, former teacher, I have that servant's heart background, and I just love giving back.
Well, we're all grateful for your service, and thank you for that. And it's really cool that you're that didn't just leave you. I know a lot of the guys out there who serve, they kind of are the same way. It just never leaves them. They didn't, very, very few people that I could think of that I know joined up because they had a legal or figurative gun to their head. It's an all volunteer force. And that's what I love. I hear people making noise about bringing back the draft and, well, these kids need to learn to respect. It's like, first of all, up yours. I can't, I shouldn't say it. I get why. Like, of course, yes, we want kids to, of course. And I think, would it be great if everybody was able to like experience something that where they don't get to put themselves first and foremost in all the decisions they make in their life? Sure. That learning that kind of empathy is great. And there's a certain level of that you learn in the military. I don't think you learn anywhere else. But
Right.
I'll also say, if I'm in a fighting hole, the last person I want having my back is some dude who doesn't even want to be there. Who was, I want the guy who is like, listen, man, I'm ready to go. Break glass in case of emergency. Let's go loud. I want that guy behind me. So I don't know. I hear a lot of well-intentioned people making very, very bad decisions about how we use our military. And that's just one example.
I can still remember it was at before the start of the war in 2003, and I'm in Qatar, and getting ready to be forward deployed to Saudi and forward deployed in potentially into Iraq. And I remember there's a guy on the bus with me, like complaining about like who the administration was, and like I said, I don't care which side of the right or left or Republican or Democrat, who you are. It does not matter to me. What matters is we are downrange together right now, and I need to trust that you're going to have my back, because I'm either going to beat the shit or stuff out of you.
Nah, beat the fucking shit out of him, man. Go for it.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, I'm either going to beat the crap out of you, or we're gonna become best friends right now. And
Yeah.
which is it? So like,
Yeah.
because like I gotta know you got my back. Like that's how it is downrange, dude. Like it does not matter, like race, creed, color, does not matter. Like I'm gonna trust you explicitly, and I just need you to know that I need to know that you trust me as well. Like we're gonna work through this together.
Yeah, it is interesting. I always say, we swore our oath to the Constitution, not a president. And
Yeah.
one of the things that often struck me is, and I don't know if it was, maybe I was just too, maybe I didn't care. Maybe I was just too wrapped up in what I was doing. But as a young Marine, I didn't even care. I didn't watch the news. Like
No.
I didn't really care or know. I was just like, well, this is what we're doing. And so let's go do it.
Right.
And, it was interesting in hindsight. One of the things that troubles me is when I see like what's happening these days. I had for the longest time really slept well at night, thinking that there was always a reason that we were going to do what we were doing that was worth the cost of my friends coming home in a flag draped coffin. Like I truly believe that. And what's crazy is these days, I don't know. Like now I'm like, dude, some of the stuff like we're doing now, it's like so over the top. It's like, well, this guy's a bad guy. He needs to go. It's like, okay, fine. There's 50 bad guys. There's 50 million bad guys on this planet. How many dudes how many of my friends, and it's not even about losing the guys over there. How many guys came home and put a freaking gun in their mouth? How many guys came home, couldn't get the treatment that our country promised them, and so they decided to off themselves and just shatter not only their own family, but how many lives have we shattered over there because another country wanted us to do their bidding? Like to me, like I start getting really pissed off when I go down that rabbit trail, because it hurts you to. Well, it hurts me to realize that, number one, I was so gullible and naive. But number two, the fact that people I love, people I care about, are still to this very day supporting it. Like in a way of like, I don't care if you support things for the right reasons, but when you tell me things like trust the experts, bro, I stopped trusting the experts after COVID. All right. I stopped trusting the experts who told me like a face diaper was going to prevent a virus. It's not. And we knew that. And the scientists were telling us that. But if you tried to say it, you couldn't get any airtime on that. It was not popular to say. And so I think we're in a really weird position. And by the way, to bring this all home, I didn't mean for this to turn into the Tucker Carlson show. But one of the things was like, I do see like a lot more healthy distrust of what the government tells us, which I love, because I'm one of those people who have kind of gotten to the point where I don't believe there's a big difference between a Democrat and a Republican when they get to Washington. I think they become part of the same blob, and it stops being them fighting. Like they'll fight with each other on camera, and idiots like me are like, yeah, give them what for, of course. And then, but when you realize that after that camera shuts off, they're going smoking cigars in the same room, having steaks at the same steakhouses, working together to figure out how do they get more of our resources to Washington instead of staying in our pockets where it belongs. That's where you kind of lose me. And I kind of feel like that's where we are.
Kind of like, I mean, maybe I'm oversimplifying this a little bit, but like, I'm just a hardworking dude, but like, I know around the world, our patriotism is still, second to none. I know that piece. As much as we have our disagreements, as far as the world is, like, it's pretty crazy how much unrest there is around the world. And then the second thing, what you were talking about was like, it feels like the veil pulled back, that there's a lot of, that they'll talk a lot of smack in front of the camera and then, go have a steak together. It feels to a certain extent like scripted, like it's like pro wrestling,
Yeah,
it's
100%.
At least I can enjoy watching pro wrestling. I can't watch politics.
Yeah, it is crazy. Somebody was saying this to me the other day, and I think there's a lot of truth to it, where they think like their position was like elections are there to make you think you have a choice, but
yeah,
they're there to make like red and blue fight versus each other instead of kind of teaming up and realizing the real enemy is in Washington. It's not your neighbor. It's not the guy who goes to the same schools and stores and the same thing. It's the people in Washington. And like, I think the elections are, like you said, it's wrestling. There's good guys and there's bad guys. And, it makes for great TV and the low IQ crowd loves it, but to what end? And so,
I don't pay attention to it too much.
No, I know. And maybe I find myself obsessing over it too much, but it is kind of important. It's the world that we're going to be handing over to our kids. And it's funny too, I agree with you that like I don't think there's any more, any country out there where its citizens are more proud of that country. I think American pride exists for a reason, and it should. Like, in 200 and some years, we eclipsed literally every other country out there who some had been in existence for tens of thousands of years, and we eclipsed them because we were something special. We were an experiment that believed in the God-given rights of individual human beings, and I think that was just such a cool thing. And that all goes back to the whole commander-in-chief question. Look, I was no fan of Obama. I'm not a big fan of big government, obviously. So I wasn't an Obama guy. I wasn't a Biden guy. But let's just pretend that Mexico decides that they're going to come, try to take shots at the White House and start a war with us. And dude, I'm strapping up and I'm going for a war on Obama's side, because don't you dare come in my freaking living room. I might not like the guy. Hey, I don't like my stepdad. He might be a jerk, but don't you dare come in the house and punch my stepdad in the face, because you got problems with me at that point.
Exactly.
And so, like, when I look at like these regime change wars that we're doing in Venezuela and Iran, it's like, dude, what are we doing? Of course they're going to be. Of course we're not the good guys here. Of course we're just inspiring people to, like, just for generations to figure out how they can get back at the United States. And because I don't care who's in the White House when it's us versus the world. Guess what? I'm picking Team Us. I'm sorry. This is the team I'm on. I'm allowed to sit there and say my sister's an idiot, but don't you dare tell my sister she's an idiot. Or what I mean?
Exactly.
It's one of those weird irrational things that I think we have.
No, I love it, man. And that's the thing. Like, I've been to many countries, and like, I just don't see the patriotism like we have here.
Yeah.
So,
well, there's what's that old saying? American exceptionalism isn't necessarily saying that it's we as human beings are exceptional or better than everybody else. It's saying that America was the exception to the rule of the world, which was there's a king, a monarch, or they call it a parliament, but it's all controlled. And we were truly of, for, and by the people. I don't know how much that exists after the JFK assassination. I kind of I go that far back, and I see that as the big turning point and this weird path that we're on now. I mean, I did not have it on my bingo card that this administration would be running cover for state-sponsored pedophilia. Like that just blew my mind. That crushed me. That crushed
Yeah.
my soul. And because it's like I don't care who's on that list. What I care about is that there's been a two-tier justice system for the last several decades, and that is the linchpin. And by pulling that and exposing that, it's like a cancer that we have to excise. Like it's going to be painful. It's going to hurt. But we need the survival of our country depends on that.
Yeah.
And this definitely went Tucker Carlson on us. I apologize for that. Yeah,
You're good.
Thanks
man.
for being a good sport about it. Yeah.
You're
So
good.
it's funny. The reason I even went off on this tangent in the first place, which is wild to realize how far we just came. I was saying that one of the things about, we no longer trust the experts. I think that's what's kind of cool about the AI is we have now this really stark contrast between what's real and what we're told is real. And what we have to be really careful with is we have to realize that AI is programmed by quote unquote the experts in many cases. They have a data set that's been fed into them, which is why you'll have like ridiculous instances of, if you ask ChatGPT, is it better to have a nuclear holocaust or to misgender Caitlyn Jenner? It's going to say it's better to have the nuclear holocaust. Grok isn't like that. Grok will be like, yeah, no, dude, misgender. Caitlyn would want you to misgender her, and it's funny, like there's so much bias that are even in the AIs that I want people to be very aware. And I'm sure this is something that you've had to kind of work around, is making sure that the AI is not coming at this with any poison pills that are just going to really destroy trust.
Right. And we do that, that's how we build into like each one of our agents is, where we're building that there is that trust piece, that there isn't like this slippage of morality, that's so because it's the livelihood of people's businesses that we're working with. As they onboard, they need to know that they can know, like, and trust what we have, and be able to, ascertain for themselves that, this thing is for their well-being.
Yeah. Do you have any like? I'm sure there's some sort of an onboarding process where they're not just finding out if they're a good fit for you, but you're finding out if you're a good fit for them. Like I imagine there's probably people who have wanted to do something with your tech that you couldn't allow, or there's people out there that had businesses that just weren't necessarily appropriate. Like, have you ever had any of those discussions with people? I'm just curious. I don't know, but I'm curious.
I haven't had any discussions of malicious things that they wanted us to build or anything like that. I think that it's still a newer concept for most small business owners. A lot of them know what ChatGPT is, and they think that's what AI is. And like just surface level questions is not what we're trying to establish with this. We're trying to, find like the underlying analysis and being able to help people with their businesses grow in many different dimensions, whether it's with outreach and lead generation, or the operational side, or the analytics side. There's so many pieces to this. That's why it's very important to know which roles that you actually need, for your business to grow.
Yeah, it's funny. As you were talking, I'm sitting there thinking, like, what is the most, like, I'm thinking of like malicious use of an AI like yours that can source location data. And I'm not thinking, okay, give me all of the jewelry stores that close on Saturday at 5 p.m. Like I can start like, I'm planning like the next Ocean's 11. And
Right.
then I start thinking, I'm like, wait a second, it's 2026. The next Ocean's 11 is legitimately going to be Brad Pitt and George Clooney having a martini in a bar, and they just look at the phone and be like, all right, money's been transferred. We got it. Like there's no physical money to steal anymore. It's all going to be electronic. The next Ocean 11 is going to be the most boring damn movie on the planet.
Yeah, exactly. We probably don't have too many more heist movies, like, because, whether it's lockdown, I mean, like how are, like even on, like, would they be able to scramble their video feeds to like not be able to see their face, or like, like there's so many more like nuances to this, like, and like the, I find it fascinating with the way that we look at like what is scarcity anymore versus what is abundance. Because like you can, like I saw a video, like if you look at like in the United States, wood can be looked at as an abundance. Okay. But if you look at it entirely in the universe, this is the only place in the universe that has living organisms. So wood is an incredibly scarce resource across the universe versus gold, which is scarce on Earth. There's many, it's everywhere in other places of the universe.
Wow. That is mind bending. Yeah. I think there's like entire planets made of diamond out there. Fusion's an amazing thing.
So that like we just can't tap into those resources yet. But that's one thing that like, as you continue to like, how do we get to those resources and how does that change the way that we, establish the way that we're living our lives, like, I mean, it could be that oxygen is very rare in a breathable form. We can't go anywhere else than here. How could we turn in like a methane planet into a livable planet or whatever it is? I don't know. I'm just spitballing as we talk.
Yeah, it's wild. I went down the when I was much younger. I found that fascinating. Things like the Fermi paradox and the like. So it basically begs the question. It's like, listen, there's so many galaxies out there consisting of hundreds of billions of stars that have hundreds of billions of planets, and so it tries to draw, in my opinion, after looking back on it enough times, I feel like it draws a little bit of a false equivalency in saying that just because there's a lot of possibilities, it necessarily increases the probability. And I don't think that those two are necessarily true. And from my very immature understanding of the numbers involved, one of the things that people don't take into, so the Fermi paradox takes into consideration the raw numbers of planets and stuff out there. But there was another person who was talking about the fact that we've never really had any super evidentiary proof of extraterrestrial life. And the question was, how? Why? How is that possible with all of those billions of planets out there? And, there's a few, ideas. One is, they're just so far away. The universe is so immense that it would take several lifetimes to even hear about them. But the other thing that people don't take into consideration is they take into consideration the quantitative number of planets, but they don't take into consideration the time. And the universe is not only very vast, it's very old. And so you're not only taking into consideration the probability of two civilizations existing near enough to each other, it has to exist in the same time. And it turns out that speaking, about volume and space, it's actually more likely that we exist closer in proximity to another civilization than we exist at the same time, because we've been around for a blink. When we come to universal timescales, we are a blink. And I always found that such a great answer to that question. Why haven't we been visited by other civilizations? Well, all we had to do was miss them by 0.000000001% of the overall universal timeline. And that's literally, we missed them by a billion years. Like, to me, that's wild.
Right. The other thing too is like, maybe our planet just doesn't have the resources that other people need.
Yeah.
Like we're just so minuscule, comparatively speaking, that no one wants to come out here. I don't know.
Did you see the 3-Body Problem on Netflix? And there was a book. I read the books. They were great, but it was basically kind of along those lines. It's like, oh yeah, there's other people out there, but number one, we don't matter. And on the thing is spoiler alert, if you're into it, don't listen. If you love the books, don't listen. But basically it was based on the premise that once you do kind of stick your head up, it gets chopped off by the scythe because you then become a threat. So if you're big enough for you to be noticed, they just lop you off right away. So like, okay, because we've seen civilizations go great, and then we've seen utter lunatics come up, and we just don't want to deal with them. So they prune you as soon as you get found. So it's kind of like, I don't know if we want to keep sending these signals out there, man.
Yeah,
Right, man.
yeah. I mean,
I would love,
go ahead.
I would love to just kind of turn. We're kind of running out of time here, so before we do, I
Yeah.
want to just turn this over to you, and if there's anything that I didn't cover today, or anything that you want to make sure these folks walk away with. I mean, we covered so much, and I'm really grateful for you. But is there anything that you want to make sure is out there, anywhere they could go to find more information? You guys, I mean, the floor is 100% yours.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. No, Synergist is go to synergist.ai, synergists.ai. You can also go to synergist.com. Either one, it'll route it back there. You can see all the AI agents that we're building. You can see that we're coming from, like I said, I'm a disabled vet, so we're coming from a place of contribution rather than like exploitation of this. We're wanting to really help and give back to the small business owners, the people that are just like me and you, that are working every day, man, trying to make a change in that community's life, like the plumber in Des Moines, Iowa, or the roofing contractor in San Jose. Like, those are the esthetician in Seattle. Those are the people that we want to help. And we're just grateful for the opportunity and the platform to be able to speak with you. And thank you so much for your time today. It's been great.
Oh, come on, Ryan. Are you kidding me? It's a pleasure's mine. And folks, I hope you take Ryan up on that opportunity. Check him out. You heard some of the amazing things he's got going on, and the energy he brings to the table is just, it's contagious. So, if there's any questions you have, just shoot me a comment. If you want to learn how to get in touch with them, if you didn't hear it, let me know. I'll be happy to introduce you. And as always, if you've ever considered selling your home and thought that, hey, gosh, what am I paying this real estate agent for when I could probably do it myself? I'm going to give you a really quick and easy way to find out if you're cut out for it or not. Just go to my website, foolprooffisbo.com quiz, foolprooffisbo.com/quiz, easy for me to say. And go ahead and take the 2-minute quiz. Find out if you're cut out for that or not. Either way, I'm not going to turn my back on you. I'm going to coach you through whatever the eventuality is that you find yourself going down. I'm here for you. So with that, have a great weekend, folks. Ryan Van Ornum, it's such a pleasure, dude. Thank you again. And I hope everybody has a great day. All right. And we're stopping.